Most people do not lose control of their lives in one dramatic moment. They lose it quietly, morning by morning. The alarm rings, they delay. The phone lights up. Messages, headlines and demands enter before they have chosen a single thought of their own. By the time their feet touch the floor, the day already belongs to everyone else. But imagine waking with direction. Imagine building focus and momentum before the world asks for your attention. Not because life is easy, but because you created a morning that makes action easier than distraction. Your morning is where identity is rehearsed. It is where promises are kept or broken and confidence is earned in private. You do not need a perfect life. You need a clear decision, a simple system, and the courage to stop negotiating with the person you said you wanted to become. This is how you take back your morning, and through it, the direction of your life. Chapter 1. Wake before the world takes you. There is a moment every morning when your life is still quiet enough to hear yourself think. It may last only a few minutes. The room is dim, the streets are calmer. The people who will later need something from you have not yet begun calling your name. Your responsibilities still exist, but they have not yet taken the microphone. In that brief space, the day is unclaimed. Most people give that space away without realizing it. They surrender it to the snooze button, to notifications, to random thoughts, and to the emotional residue of yesterday. They wake up physically, but mentally they remain asleep. Their body rises while their attention is immediately captured by the outside world. Owning your morning begins with understanding that attention is your first and most valuable resource. Before time, before energy, before money, there is attention. What you give attention to grows louder inside you. What grows louder begins to guide your choices, and your repeated choices become your life. The first battle of the day is therefore not against tiredness. It is against unconsciousness. It is the battle to choose your first thought, your first movement, and your first direction. You do not need to wake at 4 in the morning to win this battle. There is nothing magical about an extreme hour. The goal is not to prove that you can survive on less sleep or imitate the schedule of a celebrity. The goal is to wake with enough space to lead yourself before the demands of the day begin leading you. For one person, that may mean waking at 5. For another, it may mean 7. A parent with a newborn will have a different morning from an athlete in training. A nurse working nights will define morning by the start of a personal waking cycle, not by the position of the sun. The principle is not about the clock. The principle is ownership. Ownership means that your morning begins by design rather than by accident. When the alarm rings, a conversation begins. One voice says, "Get up, you made a decision." Another says, "5 more minutes will not matter." That second voice sounds reasonable because it rarely asks for total surrender. It asks for a tiny compromise. But tiny compromises are how authority is transferred. Each time you keep the promise to rise, you strengthen the part of you that acts. Each time you delay without a real need, you strengthen the part of you that bargains. This does not mean you should ignore genuine exhaustion. Discipline is not self-punishment. If you are chronically sleep-deprived, the answer is not to force yourself into an impressive morning routine while destroying your health. The answer is to fix the system that keeps stealing your sleep. A strong morning is built on adequate rest. You cannot claim ownership of the dawn by behaving recklessly at night. Still, many people are not losing the morning because they need more rest. They are losing it because comfort has become their first command. Comfort is not evil. It becomes dangerous when it decides your direction. The bed is warm, the room is cold, the task ahead feels difficult. Your mind searches for permission to delay. In that moment, you need a rule that is stronger than your mood. A useful rule is simple. When the alarm rings, your feet touch the floor before your mind begins a debate. The longer you remain in bed thinking, the more convincing your excuses become. Action breaks the argument. Sit up, place your feet down, stand, turn on a light, drink water. The sequence matters because movement changes mental state. You are not trying to feel ready. You are using action to create readiness. This is one of the deepest lessons of a powerful morning. Motivation often arrives after movement, not before it. People wait to feel inspired, focused, energetic, or certain, but feelings are unreliable opening signals. They are influenced by sleep, weather, stress, hormones, memories, and thousands of factors you do not control. If your morning depends on a perfect emotional state, it will collapse the moment life becomes difficult. A better approach is to reduce the number of decisions required after waking. Put your alarm away from the bed. Prepare water in advance. Place your clothes where you can reach them. Decide the night before what the first 10 minutes will contain. Make the right action obvious and the wrong action inconvenient. You are not weak because environment affects you. You are human. The strongest people are not those who resist every temptation through heroic willpower. They are those who build environments that require less resistance. Your phone deserves special attention. It is not simply a device. It is a doorway through which hundreds of voices can enter your mind. When you reach for it immediately after waking, you allow strangers, advertisers, co-workers, news cycles, and algorithms to set your emotional temperature. A single message can create urgency. A headline can create fear. A photograph can trigger comparison. A short video can steal 20 minutes and leave your attention scattered. None of these things may destroy your day alone, but together they teach your brain that the morning is a time for reaction. Create a boundary. For the first 30 minutes, or ideally the first hour, keep the phone away unless it is required for a genuine emergency or an essential responsibility. Use a simple alarm clock if necessary. Tell important people how to reach you in urgent situations. Then protect the quiet. At first, the quiet may feel uncomfortable. Without a screen, you may notice anxiety, boredom, or thoughts you have been avoiding. Good. That discomfort is information. You cannot lead a mind you refuse to meet. Sit with yourself long enough to hear what is happening beneath the noise. Are you carrying resentment from yesterday? Are you afraid of a task ahead? Are you excited about an idea? Are you exhausted by a commitment you no longer believe in? Morning stillness does not solve every problem, but it reveals which problems are asking for your attention. This is why owning the morning can become emotionally challenging. You are not merely changing a schedule, you are removing excuses and distractions that once protected you from honest self-observation. But honesty is power. When you begin the day by facing reality, you stop wasting energy pretending. You can name what is difficult and decide what to do next. You can acknowledge fear without obeying it. You can admit fatigue without making it an identity. You can recognize that yesterday went badly without allowing yesterday to become today. Every morning offers a clean point of decision, not a clean history, not a clean life, a clean decision. You may have failed for months, you may have ignored your health, delayed important work, and broken promises to yourself. The morning does not erase consequences, but it gives you a place to reverse direction. Do not underestimate the power of one deliberate beginning. A controlled morning produces a controlled first hour. A controlled first hour often produces a more focused day. A focused day creates evidence that you can trust yourself. Repeated evidence becomes confidence. Confidence is not built by telling yourself that you are powerful. It is built by watching yourself do what you said you would do. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, do not ask whether you feel like becoming stronger. Place your feet on the floor and begin. The day is waiting to be claimed, and the first person to claim it should be you. Chapter 2. The night before owns the morning. A morning routine begins long before the alarm. It begins when you decide what time to stop working. It begins when you choose whether to keep watching, scrolling, snacking, worrying, or planning. It begins when you prepare your space and give your body permission to recover. Many people say they want better mornings while protecting the habits that create terrible nights. They set an early alarm, but stay awake without purpose. They expect discipline at dawn after practicing impulsiveness at midnight. Then, when the plan fails, they blame themselves for lacking willpower. The problem is often not character, it is architecture. Your evening is the architecture of your morning. If you go to bed late, overstimulated, mentally cluttered, and unprepared, your morning begins with debt. You wake owing energy, clarity, and time. You spend the first hours trying to recover from choices made the night before. A strong evening does not need to be complicated. It needs to close the day deliberately. Think of your mind as a room. Throughout the day, people walk through it and leave things behind. Unfinished tasks, unanswered messages, worries, ideas, appointments, mistakes, and expectations accumulate. If you carry all of that into bed, your body may lie down while your brain remains standing. The first purpose of an evening routine is closure. Closure means taking what is open in your mind and placing it somewhere trustworthy. Write down unfinished tasks, record ideas, note what must happen tomorrow. Decide which problem can wait. The goal is not to solve your entire life before sleep. The goal is to stop using your memory as a storage unit. A simple page can do more for sleep than an hour of mental wrestling. Write what happened today. Write what still matters. Write the 3 priorities for tomorrow. Then tell yourself clearly, this day is complete. I will return to these things at the right time. Your brain may not believe you at first. It has learned that if it stops rehearsing, something important will be forgotten. But when you repeatedly capture your responsibilities and review them the next day, trust begins to form. Your mind learns that it does not need to stay alert all night to protect your future. The second purpose of the evening is preparation. Preparation reduces friction. Friction is anything that makes the desired behavior harder to begin. A missing shirt, an empty water bottle, a cluttered desk, a vague workout plan, a breakfast decision, a lost notebook. Each small obstacle creates a chance to delay. Before bed, remove those obstacles. Place your clothes where you will see them. Set out your shoes. Prepare your coffee or tea. Fill a bottle of water. Put the book on the chair. Open the notebook to a clean page. If you plan to exercise, decide the exact routine. If you plan to work, choose the first task. If you plan to pray or meditate, prepare the space. This may sound almost too simple. That is why people ignore it. They want transformation to feel dramatic, but effective systems are often ordinary. The power is not in the difficulty of preparation. The power is in the consistency of removing excuses. There is another kind of preparation that matters even more. Emotional preparation. Many mornings fail because the plan is unrealistic. People imagine that tomorrow they will wake early, exercise intensely, meditate, read 50 pages, write for an hour, cook a perfect breakfast, plan their future, and still arrive at work before everyone else. This fantasy feels exciting at night. In the morning, it feels impossible. An overloaded routine creates avoidance. You do not own your morning by filling every minute. You own it by choosing what deserves the first part of your energy. Start with a minimum routine that can survive a difficult day. Perhaps it is 20 minutes, 5 minutes to wake and hydrate, 5 minutes to breathe, pray, or sit quietly, 10 minutes to move and identify the day's priority. That is enough to establish authority. Once the minimum becomes stable, you can expand. But never confuse complexity with commitment. A routine that looks impressive for 4 days is less valuable than a simple routine you can keep for 4 years. Sleep must also be treated as a non-negotiable foundation. Adults vary in how much sleep they need, but nobody becomes more disciplined by pretending biology does not exist. When you repeatedly shorten sleep to create more morning time, you may gain an hour on the clock and lose several hours of judgment, patience, and performance. Protecting sleep requires a stopping time. Most people have a waking alarm but no evening alarm. Set one. Let it signal the beginning of shutdown. When it rings, stop opening new loops. Do not begin another episode, another work task, another argument, or another endless search. Move into closure. This may be difficult because nighttime often feels like the only personal time available. After a day of demands, late hours can feel like freedom. You may resist sleep because sleeping means the next demanding day arrives sooner. That pattern is understandable, but it is expensive. You borrow peace from tomorrow and spend it tonight. The real solution is not merely forcing yourself into bed. It is creating moments of autonomy earlier in the day. Take a walk, read for pleasure, sit without productivity, speak with someone you care about. Give yourself a life you do not need to escape from at midnight. Light, food, and stimulation also shape the quality of your night. Bright screens keep the mind activated. Heavy meals can interfere with rest. Caffeine late in the day can remain in the body longer than you expect. Intense work near bedtime can leave your thoughts racing. You do not need to turn your home into a laboratory, but you should become observant. Notice what helps you sleep and what steals sleep. Track patterns honestly. Stop calling a habit harmless when the next morning proves otherwise. Your bedroom should communicate one primary message: recover. Keep it as dark, quiet, and comfortable as possible. Remove work if you can. Charge the phone away from the bed. Let the room become associated with rest rather than stimulation. The environment will begin to teach your nervous system what happens there. There will be nights when preparation fails. A child wakes, work runs late, travel disrupts the routine. Anxiety refuses to cooperate. Life is not a controlled experiment. On those nights, avoid the all-or-nothing trap. Do what you can. Capture tomorrow's top priority. Prepare one thing. Dim the lights. Take a few slow breaths. Go to bed without punishing yourself for imperfection. The goal is not to create a flawless evening. The goal is to stop abandoning the next morning. Each night, you are leaving instructions for the person you will become at dawn. You are deciding whether that person will wake into confusion or clarity, friction or readiness, exhaustion or recovery. Treat your future self like someone you respect. Do not leave chaos for that person to clean up. Do not leave decisions that could have been made. Do not demand courage while providing no support. Prepare the path. When the morning comes and the clothes are ready, the water is waiting, the priorities are clear, and the mind has rested, discipline feels less like a battle. It feels like the natural next step. The morning may be where you perform the habit, but the night is where you make the habit possible. Chapter 3. The first 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes after waking are small enough to ignore and powerful enough to shape everything that follows. In those minutes, your brain is crossing a threshold. Sleep is releasing its grip. Awareness is returning. Your body is adjusting to light, temperature, and movement. Habits that have been repeated for years begin running before conscious thought fully arrives. That is why the beginning must be simple. You do not need a complicated ritual when your mind is still foggy. You need a sequence so clear that it can be followed without negotiation. The first step is immediate physical separation from the bed. The bed should not remain the headquarters of your morning. Once you are awake, stand. If you sit there scrolling, planning, or thinking, the body receives mixed instructions. Are we beginning the day or continuing the night? Stand and move to a different space. The second step is light. Open the curtains. Step near a window. Turn on the lights if it is still dark. Light is a signal. It tells the body that the waking cycle has begun. More importantly, it changes the emotional texture of the room. Darkness invites delay. Light invites action. The third step is water. You have gone several hours without drinking. A glass of water is not a miracle cure, but it is a clean physical signal that care has started. It is also a replacement behavior. Instead of reaching for the phone, you reach for something that serves you. The fourth step is breath. Most people wake directly into tension. They remember what is due, what went wrong, what might happen, and who needs them. Their breathing becomes shallow, before they have left the room. Interrupt that pattern. Take 5 slow breaths. Inhale steadily. Exhale a little longer than you inhale. Let your shoulders drop. You are not trying to become perfectly calm. You are reminding your nervous system that urgency is not the only possible setting. The 5th step is intention. Say one sentence that tells the day who is leading. It might be, "Today I will act before I overthink." It might be, "Today I will protect my attention." It might be, "Today I will finish the work that matters most." The words are not magic. Their value comes from selecting a direction before random events select one for you. These 5 actions can happen in less than 5 minutes. Stand, seek light, drink water, breathe, choose an intention. The sequence is intentionally modest. Its purpose is not to complete your morning. Its purpose is to cross the line between sleep and leadership. Once the line is crossed, momentum becomes available. Momentum is one of the most misunderstood forces in personal change. People think progress is created by giant bursts of motivation. Often it is created by reducing the distance between one useful action and the next. You stand, so it is easier to walk to the window. You open the curtains, so it is easier to drink the water placed nearby. You drink, so it is easier to begin breathing. You breathe, so it is easier to remember the intention. Each completed action votes for the next. This is why your first action should be almost impossible to fail. Do not make the first action run 5 miles or write 1,000 words. Make it put both feet on the floor. Success at that level may seem meaningless, but it changes the identity of the moment. You are no longer the person deciding whether to begin. You are the person who has begun. After the first 5 minutes, you can move into the deeper structure of your morning. But protect those opening minutes from 3 common traps. The first trap is emotional forecasting. You wake up tired and conclude that the entire day will be unproductive. You wake up anxious and assume something is wrong. You wake up unmotivated and decide the routine has stopped working. A feeling at 6 in the morning is not a prophecy. The body may need time to activate. The mind may be processing a dream. A problem may feel larger in the dark than it will after movement and food. Do not hand the entire day to the first emotion that enters the room. Acknowledge the feeling without making it the leader. Say, "I feel tired and I am standing," or "I feel anxious and I am breathing." This language keeps reality and action together. You are not denying discomfort. You are refusing to treat discomfort as a command. The second trap is decision overload. What should I wear? Should I exercise or read? What should I eat? Which task should I start? Should I answer that message? Should I change the routine? Too many questions consume the energy needed for action. The solution is not stronger concentration. It is fewer morning decisions. Create defaults. Have a default wake-up time, a default first drink, a default movement routine, a default breakfast for ordinary days, a default place for reflection, a default work task selected the night before. Defaults do not remove freedom. They protect freedom from being wasted on low-value choices. You can always change a default when circumstances require it, but change it consciously, not because your morning mind is looking for an escape. The third trap is accidental input. You intend to check the weather and end up reading messages. You intend to start music and see a notification. You intend to turn off the alarm and open social media from habit. Technology is designed to expand a single glance into continued engagement. Your intention is competing with systems built by teams of experts to hold attention. Do not make that competition harder than necessary. Use airplane mode overnight. Disable non-essential notifications. Move distracting apps away from the home screen. Use a separate clock. Keep written instructions beside the bed. The best defense is often not resistance, but distance. There is also a deeper psychological reason. The first 5 minutes matter. They establish whether you experience yourself as the author or the audience of your life. An audience watches. an author chooses. When you wake and immediately consume, you become an audience. You watch other people speak, travel, succeed, argue, sell, and perform. Your own life becomes secondary before it has begun. When you wake and move with intention, you become an author. You write the first line. It may be quiet. Nobody applauds. Nobody even knows. But authorship does not require witnesses. This private authorship is the foundation of self-respect. Self-respect is not a mood of admiration. It is the result of treating your time, body, and promises as if they matter. The first 5 minutes are your earliest daily opportunity to practice that treatment. Some mornings will still feel clumsy. You will spill the water, forget the intention, move slowly, stand at the window half asleep. That does not mean you failed. The standard is not elegance. The standard is participation. Return to the sequence. Stand, light, water, breath, intention. Repeat it until the body recognizes it. Repeat it until the morning no longer begins with a question. Repeat it until action becomes the answer. Eventually, those 5 minutes will stop feeling like a technique. They will feel like the way you enter your own life. Chapter 4. Win the body, win the mind. Your mind does not wake in isolation. It wakes inside a body. When the body is stiff, dehydrated, under-rested, and inactive, clear thinking becomes harder. When the body begins moving, breathing deeply, and receiving fuel, the mind often follows. This does not mean every problem can be solved by exercise. Anxiety, depression, grief, trauma, and illness are real and may require professional support. But it does mean that your physical state is one of the fastest levers available in an ordinary morning. Change the body, and you often change the conversation in the mind. Movement is especially powerful because it turns intention into visible action. You are no longer merely thinking about becoming energetic. You are creating energy through motion. The movement does not need to be extreme. In fact, an extreme plan is one of the easiest ways to destroy consistency. If your routine requires perfect weather, special equipment, an empty gym, 90 minutes, and maximum motivation, it will fail whenever life becomes normal. Build a movement practice that can survive reality. Begin with mobility. Roll your shoulders, turn your neck gently, circle the hips, bend and straighten the knees, reach overhead, twist carefully. Your body has been still for hours. Treat it like something you are waking, not something you are punishing. Then raise the heart rate. Walk quickly, climb stairs, do squats, push-ups against a wall or floor, jumping jacks, cycling, or a short sequence you enjoy. 5 focused minutes can be useful. 20 can be transformative. The right amount is the amount that supports your day and can be repeated. Morning movement has another advantage. It creates an early experience of voluntary difficulty. You choose to do something mildly uncomfortable before the day forces discomfort upon you. You feel resistance and continue. You breathe harder and remain present. You finish a set, a walk, or a stretch that you could have skipped. That experience teaches a portable lesson. Discomfort can be entered, managed, and completed. Later, when you face a difficult email, a demanding conversation, or a complex task, the mind has evidence that resistance is not an emergency. You already practiced moving through it. The body also communicates through posture. Notice the difference between a morning spent collapsed over a screen and a morning spent standing tall, walking, and breathing fully. Posture is not a cure for insecurity, but it influences how you occupy space. When you lift the chest, relax the jaw, and look forward, you give yourself a physical experience of readiness. Use that experience deliberately. As you move, pay attention to the stories that arise. I am too tired. I am behind. This is not enough. I never stay consistent. These thoughts often appear automatically. Do not fight every one of them. Let movement become the reply. One more repetition, one more step, one more breath. Action is often a cleaner argument than self-talk. Food matters as well, though there is no single breakfast that fits everyone. Some people feel best eating soon after waking. Others prefer to wait. Medical conditions, training goals, culture, schedule, and personal response all matter. The principle is awareness rather than imitation. Notice which foods support stable energy and which create a crash. Notice whether you are eating from hunger or habit. Notice whether your morning meal contains enough nourishment to carry you into the work ahead. Notice whether convenience is repeatedly pushing you toward choices that make concentration harder. Prepare for the choice you want to make. Keep simple ingredients available. Reduce the need for complicated cooking on busy days. Create 1 or 2 reliable meals. Again, defaults protect energy. Caffeine deserves honesty. For many people, coffee or tea is a welcome part of the morning. The problem is not the ritual itself. The problem is using stimulation to cover chronic exhaustion while refusing to repair sleep. If every morning begins with the feeling that you cannot function without a substance, treat that as information. Do not confuse borrowed alertness with restored energy. Observe the timing and amount that work for your body. Avoid turning the first cup into an excuse to ignore hydration, food, or rest. Use it as a tool, not as the foundation of your identity. Breathing is another physical tool that can change mental state quickly. When stress rises, exhalation often shortens and the upper body tightens. A few minutes of slow, controlled breathing can reduce the feeling of internal acceleration. Try a simple rhythm. Inhale through the nose for a comfortable count. Pause briefly. Exhale slowly for a slightly longer count. Repeat without strain. The point is not to chase a mystical experience. The point is to become physically available to the moment. While you breathe, scan the body. Where are you holding tension? The forehead? Jaw? Shoulders? Hands? Stomach? You may discover that your body is preparing for danger even when you are standing safely in your kitchen. Release what you can. Then ask a useful question. What am I preparing to face? Sometimes the body knows you are avoiding something before the conscious mind admits it. A conversation, a deadline, a decision, morning movement and breath can reveal that hidden resistance. Once revealed, turn it into a plan. Decide the next physical action. Open the document. Write the message. Schedule the call. Gather the information. Do not let vague tension remain in charge. There will be mornings when the body is genuinely limited. Illness, injury, disability, pregnancy, recovery, and age can change what movement is appropriate. Ownership does not mean ignoring those realities. It means working intelligently within them. Respect pain signals. Follow medical guidance. Adapt the routine. Movement may mean stretching in bed, breathing while seated, walking slowly, or performing rehabilitation exercises. The principle is not intensity, it is engagement. You are building a relationship with your body, not running a daily trial against it. That relationship improves when you stop speaking to the body with contempt. Many people exercise in the morning because they hate how they look. They treat movement as punishment for eating or as payment for existing. This creates a fragile form of discipline. Shame can produce action for a while, but it rarely produces peace. Move because your body carries your ambitions. Feed it because your attention depends on it. Let it recover because your future requires it. You do not need to love every part of your appearance to practice respect. Respect is behavior. When you move, hydrate, breathe, and nourish yourself, you send a message deeper than any affirmation. I am worth preparing. That preparation changes the rest of the morning. A mind inside an activated body is more ready to focus. A person who has already done something difficult is less likely to collapse before the next challenge. Energy creates options. But remember, the goal is not to turn the morning into a performance contest. You are not trying to become the most optimized person in the room. You are trying to become awake enough to choose well. Some days, a hard workout will serve you. Other days, a quiet walk will serve you better. Some days, you will feel powerful. Other days, the victory will be showing up gently. Win the body by listening to it, training it, and refusing to abandon it. Then notice how much easier it becomes to lead the mind. Chapter 5. Protect the mind from noise. The modern morning has an invisible crowd waiting at the edge of your bed. News alerts, work messages, social feeds, advertisements, opinions, images of strangers, problems from other countries, problems from your office, problems that are real, problems that are exaggerated, and problems invented to hold your attention. The crowd does not enter by force. You invite it with a tap. Once it enters, your mind becomes a public space. Protecting your morning does not mean ignoring the world. It means choosing when and how the world gains access to you. There is a difference between being informed and being invaded. Information has a cost. Every headline occupies mental space. Every notification creates a small switch in attention. Every comparison changes the way you measure your own life. When these inputs arrive before you have established your priorities, they become the emotional background of the day. The mind begins asking questions it did not choose. What did they say? What happened overnight? Why am I not doing as well as that person? What does my manager want? What should I buy? What am I missing? Soon you are busy without being directed. The first defense is a period of deliberate silence. Choose a window after waking when no non-essential information enters. It may begin with 20 minutes and grow to an hour. During that time, avoid social media, news, entertainment, and casual messages. This is not a moral judgment against technology. It is a boundary around a vulnerable transition. Your attention is freshest before it has been fragmented. Use that freshness for thought, prayer, planning, learning, creation, or connection with the people physically present in your life. When the input window finally opens, enter it with a purpose. Do not ask, what is available? Ask, what information do I need? That question changes consumption from a reflex into a tool. Perhaps you need to check the weather before travel, review a calendar, respond to an urgent message, or read a reliable briefing. Do those things directly, then stop. The ability to leave is as important as the ability to enter. Many apps remove stopping cues. There is no final page, no natural ending, no moment when the system says, "You have enough." The feed continues because continued attention is profitable. You must create your own stopping cues. Use a timer. Decide the number of messages you will answer. Choose one source instead of 5. Keep entertainment off the phone until later. Delete apps that repeatedly defeat your intentions. Log out after use. Make distraction require effort. Some people resist these changes because they want to prove they have self-control. They keep the temptation close and attempt to win the same battle every morning. That is not strength. It is poor strategy. You do not earn extra character by standing beside a fire and trying not to touch it. Move away. Noise also comes from inside. The moment external input disappears, internal commentary becomes louder. Regret, worry, self-criticism, imagined arguments, rehearsals of failure. A quiet room can still contain a noisy mind. You cannot simply delete these thoughts, but you can change your relationship to them. Begin by naming the category. This is worry. This is comparison. This is rehearsal. This is self-attack. Naming creates distance. The thought is happening, but it is not the whole of you. Then ask whether the thought contains an action. If you are worried about money, is there an account to review, a payment to plan, or a conversation to schedule? If you are replaying a conflict, is there an apology to make, a boundary to set, or a lesson to record? If you fear a task, can you define the first 10 minutes of work? Convert useful concern into behavior. If there is no action available now, place the thought down, write it in a notebook, and choose a time to return. You are not denying reality. You are refusing endless repetition without movement. Journaling can be especially useful here. It does not need to be elegant. You are not writing for publication. You are clearing the surface of the mind. Write what you are thinking. Write what you are feeling. Write what is true. Write what is assumed. Write what is within your control. Write what must be released. The distinction between fact and interpretation is powerful. The fact may be, the proposal was rejected. The interpretation may be, I will never succeed. The fact may be, I made a mistake. The interpretation may be, I ruin everything. The fact may be, I feel nervous. The interpretation may be, I am not capable. Morning reflection gives you a chance to separate the event from the story. You may still face a painful reality, but reality is easier to work with than a distorted conclusion. A rejected proposal can be revised. A mistake can be repaired. Nervousness can coexist with action. A global judgment about your worth offers no next step. Protecting the mind also requires selecting what you place into it. After silence, choose high-quality input. Read a few pages of a book that deepens your thinking. Listen to something that teaches rather than agitates. Review words that reconnect you with your values. Study a skill that supports your work. Do not consume inspiration as a substitute for action. Many people spend the entire morning watching others discuss discipline, creativity, business, or fitness. They feel productive because the material is useful, but they never cross into practice. Learning is complete only when it changes behavior. After reading, write one idea you will apply. After listening, decide one action. Keep the amount small enough that implementation remains possible. One applied paragraph is worth more than an entire book admired and forgotten. The people around you also influence the mental atmosphere of morning. In a shared home, you may not control every sound or conversation. Children need attention. Partners have routines. Family members may wake with stress. Ownership does not require isolation. It requires intention within relationship. Communicate what you are trying to protect. Ask for a small period of quiet. Offer the same respect to others. Create shared agreements about phones, television, and morning conflict. When possible, handle difficult discussions after everyone has had time to wake and regulate. But do not use other people as an excuse to abandon all structure. Even in a busy home, you may be able to claim 10 minutes in a chair, a walk around the block, a shower without a screen, or a few breaths before opening the door. Small protected spaces matter. Over time, you will notice that mental clarity is not merely the absence of noise. It is the presence of a chosen focus. A quiet mind with no direction can still drift. Give it a target. Ask, what deserves my best attention today? Not what is loudest, not what is easiest, not what makes you look busy. What deserves your best attention? The answer may be one difficult task, one important relationship, one health decision, or one act of courage. Hold it in mind before the crowd arrives. Then, when messages begin, you will have a reference point. You can distinguish between another person's urgency and your responsibility. You can respond without surrendering. You can remain informed without becoming consumed. The world will continue trying to enter your mind. That is not going to change. What can change is the position of the door. Chapter 6. The Power Hour Blueprint. A powerful morning does not require an hour, but an hour can become a remarkable container. 60 minutes is long enough to change your physical state, clear your mind, and advance meaningful work. It is also short enough to protect in many schedules when preparation is deliberate. The mistake is treating the hour like a box to fill with as many habits as possible. The goal is not to collect routines. The goal is to create readiness and progress. A useful power hour has 3 movements: awaken, align, advance. The first movement is awaken. This is where you bring the body and mind fully into the day. Drink water, seek light, move, breathe, wash, pray, stretch. The exact activities can vary, but the purpose is clear. Leave the state of sleep and enter the state of presence. 10 to 20 minutes may be enough. Do not spend this phase making complex decisions. Use a repeatable sequence. The more automatic the opening becomes, the more attention remains for what follows. The second movement is align. Alignment means remembering who you are, what matters, and where the day is going. This may include reflection, journaling, reading, gratitude, prayer, or reviewing goals. But alignment is not vague positivity. It is the moment when values meet the calendar. You may say family matters, but does today contain time for the people you love? You may say health matters, but what choice will protect it? You may say creative work matters, but when will you create? You may say integrity matters, but which conversation requires honesty? A value that never enters the schedule becomes decoration. Use the alignment phase to identify the day's central commitment. One sentence is enough. Before noon, I will complete the first draft. Or, today I will have the conversation I have avoided. Or, today I will remain patient during the appointment and fully present at dinner. This commitment should be specific enough to guide behavior and important enough to deserve attention. Alignment also includes reviewing constraints. What cannot be changed today? Which appointments are fixed? Where will energy likely fall? What interruptions are predictable? Planning with reality is stronger than planning with fantasy. The third movement is advance. This is where the morning becomes more than preparation. You do actual work on something that matters. For many people, this is the most valuable part of the hour. Before the day becomes crowded, spend 20 to 40 minutes advancing a meaningful goal. Write the pages, study the material, build the proposal, practice the skill, review the finances, design the plan, apply for the role, work on the business, complete the difficult analysis. Do not waste your highest quality attention on low-value maintenance if deeper work is available. Email can feel productive because it produces visible movement. Messages disappear, replies are sent, small requests are completed. But inbox progress is often borrowed progress. You move other people's priorities while your own important work remains untouched. Whenever possible, create before you communicate. This rule will not fit every job. Some roles require immediate coordination, emergency response, customer care, or operational decisions. In those cases, define the earliest protected block that your responsibilities allow. Ownership must work with reality, not against it. If you have only 30 minutes, compress the model. Spend 5 minutes awakening, 5 minutes aligning, and 20 minutes advancing. If you have 15 minutes, spend 3 awakening, 2 aligning, and 10 advancing. If you have 5 minutes, stand, breathe, identify the priority, and take one physical step toward it. The structure scales because its purpose remains the same. You may wonder whether the hour should look identical every day. Repetition is helpful, but rigidity is not the goal. Different days may require different emphasis. On a physically demanding day, the awakening phase may be gentler. Before a major decision, alignment may need more space. During a creative deadline, advancement may dominate. On a recovery day, the hour may include walking, reflection, and planning rather than intense output. Create a base routine and a few approved variations. This prevents improvisation from turning into abandonment. You might have a full routine, a short routine, and a recovery routine. Each version still awakens, aligns, and advances. The full routine is for ordinary days with adequate time and energy. The short routine is for travel, early appointments, family demands, or unexpected delays. The recovery routine is for illness, emotional strain, poor sleep, or periods when the body needs care. A routine is resilient when it bends without disappearing. Tracking can help, but track the right things. Do not turn your morning into a scoreboard of minor behaviors. The point is not to create anxiety because you missed one glass of water or read 7 pages instead of 10. Track whether you showed up. Track whether you protected attention. Track whether you advanced the central commitment. Track how your energy responded. Use the data to learn, not to accuse yourself. After 2 weeks, review the pattern. Which part of the hour consistently helps? Which part feels ceremonial but adds little value? Where do you lose time? What creates resistance? What produces momentum? Remove what does not serve the purpose. Morning routines often become bloated because people keep adding habits from books, podcasts, and videos. Meditation is added, then visualization, then cold exposure, then language study, then supplements, then a long journal, then a complicated breakfast. Soon the routine becomes a second job. Every activity may be useful in isolation, but usefulness is not the same as necessity. Ask of each habit, what problem does this solve? If you cannot answer, it may not belong. Ask, would my morning weaken if I removed this? If not, simplify. Your routine should support your life, not become the main performance of your life. There is also a danger in using preparation to avoid the work. You can spend an hour planning, centering, organizing, and optimizing because the actual task scares you. The notebook looks neat, the playlist sounds inspiring, the desk is clean, but nothing important moves. Do not polish the runway forever. Take off. Set a clear transition into advancement. At a specific time, close the journal, open the project, and begin. Use a timer if helpful. Work on one task. Keep the phone away. Let the session be imperfect. The purpose of the Power Hour is not to make you feel like a productive person. It is to produce evidence of meaningful progress. When the hour ends, record the next step. This makes tomorrow easier. Instead of returning to a vague project, you return to a clear action. You may write, "Next, outline the second section," or "Next, call the supplier," or "Next, solve the first 10 practice questions." The mind relaxes when the path remains visible. Then enter the rest of the day with a completed promise behind you. Even if the afternoon becomes chaotic, something important has already moved. Even if other people demand your attention, you have already invested in your own direction. Even if motivation falls, progress exists. That changes the emotional balance of the day. You are no longer hoping to find time later. You have already used time now. Chapter 7. Build consistency that survives real life. The most exciting morning routine is worthless if it cannot survive a difficult week. Consistency is not created by performing perfectly under ideal conditions. It is created by returning quickly under imperfect conditions. Anyone can follow a routine when sleep is good, work is calm, motivation is high, and the calendar is empty. The real test arrives when a child is sick, a deadline moves, travel begins, stress rises, or the alarm rings after a disappointing day. That is when identity becomes visible. People often misunderstand consistency as never missing. This creates a brittle standard. One failure feels like the end of the streak. Once the streak is broken, they decide the system is broken. A missed morning becomes a missed week. A stronger definition is this: consistency is the skill of returning before absence becomes a pattern. You will miss. Plan for it. You will oversleep. You will travel. You will get ill. You will make a poor choice at night. You will wake without energy. You will face circumstances that deserve flexibility. The question is not whether disruption will happen. The question is what you will do next. Create a return rule. A simple return rule might be, I never intentionally miss 2 mornings in a row. Another might be, after any disrupted morning, I complete the minimum routine the next day. The rule removes drama. You do not need to decide whether you are still disciplined. You simply return. The minimum routine is essential. Define the smallest version that preserves your identity. It should be so manageable that it can be completed on almost any ordinary day. Stand and drink water. Take 5 breaths. Move for 2 minutes. Write the day's priority. Work on it for 5 minutes. That may not look impressive, but it keeps the pathway open. It says, this is still who I am, even at reduced capacity. Minimums prevent zero. A zero is not morally wrong, but repeated zeros make restarting harder. The mind begins treating the routine as something from the past. A small action keeps it in the present. However, do not use the minimum as a permanent hiding place. A floor is not a ceiling. On days when you have time and strength, do more. The minimum exists to preserve continuity, not to justify avoidance. Consistency also depends on honest measurement. What exactly counts as success? If success means waking at precisely the same minute, completing 7 habits, feeling inspired, and finishing an hour of work, most mornings will fail by definition. Choose a simpler score. Did you begin intentionally? Did you complete the minimum? Did you protect attention? Did you move the central priority? A binary score can help. Kept or not kept, but add context. If you were caring for a sick family member at dawn, the routine may need to yield. Responsibility is not failure. The danger is using exceptional circumstances to excuse ordinary avoidance. Be honest enough to know the difference. One way to build honesty is to write the reason when you miss. Not a long defense, one line. Went to bed 2 hours late watching videos. Alarm was beside the bed, and I snoozed repeatedly. Baby was awake most of the night. Chose recovery. Travel schedule changed. Felt anxious about the project, and avoided beginning. Patterns become visible when they are written. You may discover that the morning problem is actually an evening screen problem, or a workload problem, or an emotional avoidance problem, or a schedule that ignores your family. Once the real problem is visible, you can fix it. Do not respond to every failure by increasing discipline. Sometimes the system needs redesign. If you repeatedly turn off the alarm, move it farther away. If the routine is too long, shorten it. If exercise feels impossible, choose a gentler form. If you never begin deep work, prepare the document at night. If mornings are chaotic because the household lacks coordination, discuss roles and timing. Willpower should not be asked to solve what planning can solve. Rewards can support consistency, but use them carefully. The deepest reward is the state created by the routine: clarity, progress, self-trust. External rewards can help during formation, but do not make every healthy action depend on a prize. A better method is immediate acknowledgement. When you finish, pause for a few seconds and notice it. Say, I kept the promise. Mark the day. Let the brain connect the behavior with completion. People often rush past success and study failure for hours. Reverse that imbalance. Learn from failure briefly. Register success deliberately. Community can also strengthen the habit. Tell one reliable person what you are building. Share a simple check-in. Exercise together. Begin a work session at the same time. Ask for support rather than applause, but avoid turning the morning into public theater. Posting every routine can shift the reward from doing the work to being seen as someone who does the work. The image begins replacing the identity. Keep part of the practice private. Let your life receive the benefit before your audience receives the story. There will be plateaus when the routine no longer feels exciting. This is not a warning sign. It is often evidence that the behavior is becoming normal. Novelty creates emotion. Repetition creates structure. Do not abandon a useful system because it stopped entertaining you. The toothbrush is not exciting, but you still use it. Mature discipline accepts that some valuable actions are ordinary. At the same time, review the routine periodically. Consistency is not blind repetition. Your life changes, work hours shift, children grow, health changes, goals evolve. A routine built for a previous season may no longer fit. Every month or quarter, ask what the morning needs to accomplish now. Perhaps the season requires study. Perhaps it requires recovery. Perhaps it requires spiritual grounding, creative production, job search, physical training, or family connection. Keep the principles. Adapt the form. The principles are ownership, preparation, reduced friction, protected attention, meaningful movement, and a clear first priority. The form can change without betrayal. Patience is crucial because identity changes slowly. In the beginning, you may still think of yourself as someone who struggles with mornings. Even after several successful weeks, the old label may remain. Do not argue with the label. Outlive it. Each morning is evidence. Each return is evidence. Each protected hour is evidence. Eventually, the weight of evidence becomes heavier than the old story. You stop saying, "I am trying to become disciplined." You begin saying, "This is how I start my day." That sentence is not positive thinking. It is a report. Consistency is confidence made visible over time. Not loud confidence, not perfect confidence. The quiet confidence of a person who knows that even when life interrupts, they know how to return. Chapter 8. Morning discipline in real life. A routine that only works in silence, solitude, and perfect conditions is not a routine. It is a vacation plan. Real mornings contain children, roommates, traffic, changing shifts, illness, deadlines, religious duties, caregiving, and unexpected problems. Ownership must live inside those realities. Begin by separating what you control from what you do not. You may not control when a baby wakes, but you can prepare water and clothes. You may not control an early work call, but you can protect 10 minutes before it. You may not control a rotating shift, but you can define a waking routine that follows sleep, rather than a fixed clock. You may not control noise in a shared home, but you can use a walk, a quiet corner, or headphones for focused work. Do not copy a routine built for someone else's life and then accuse yourself when it does not fit yours. Design around your actual responsibilities. Parents may need to wake before the household, but that is not always possible or healthy. Sometimes ownership means involving the family. Children can stretch beside you. Breakfast can become a screen-free connection point. Planning can happen while they draw. The routine may be less quiet, but it can still be intentional. People with demanding jobs may need to protect recovery more than productivity. If work already consumes intense physical or mental energy, the morning should not become another place of exhaustion. A brief routine that creates calm, movement, and direction may serve better than an ambitious hour. During travel, use anchors rather than locations. Your normal chair, kitchen, and route may disappear. Keep 3 portable actions: water, breath, and priority. Add movement wherever you are. These anchors tell the brain that the environment changed, but the identity did not. When a crisis arrives, let the routine become service. If someone you love needs care, helping them may be the most aligned use of the morning. Ownership is not selfishness, it is conscious choice. The difference is that you are not drifting into chaos. You are responding to what truly matters. Still, be careful. Many people call every request an emergency because saying no feels uncomfortable. They surrender the morning to avoid disappointing others. A boundary is not a rejection of people. It is a decision about timing. You can say, "I will answer after 7." You can close a door for 20 minutes. You can tell coworkers that non-urgent messages will be reviewed at a set time. You can ask family members to share responsibilities. Not everyone will celebrate your boundaries. Some benefited from your lack of them. Stay respectful, but do not confuse another person's convenience with your duty. A real-life routine also includes recovery after bad mornings. When the day begins poorly, do not spend the next 12 hours declaring it ruined. Create a reset point. Pause at noon. Take a short walk. Drink water. Write the next priority. Close unnecessary tabs. Begin again. The philosophy of owning your morning is not worship of a time period. It is the practice of returning to deliberate action. Morning is simply the first and often easiest place to learn it. Once learned, you can own the next 10 minutes anywhere. Chapter 9. Become the person who keeps the promise. Habits are not only actions. They are evidence used by the mind to answer a deeper question: who am I? Every repeated behavior adds weight to an identity. When you rise after the alarm, you collect evidence that your decisions matter. When you protect attention, you collect evidence that your mind has value. When you advance important work, you collect evidence that you are a creator rather than a spectator. The change may feel invisible at first. Identity does not transform because of one dramatic statement. It changes when behavior becomes difficult to argue with. This is why small promises matter. If you repeatedly make promises that are too large and then break them, you teach yourself not to trust your own plans. The damage is not limited to the missed workout or unfinished page. It affects the authority of your inner voice. Restore that authority by making promises that are clear and honest. Do not promise a 2-hour routine when you have 30 minutes. Do not promise daily intensity when your body needs recovery. Do not promise perfection. Promise what matters, then keep it. Self-trust grows through a simple cycle. Decide, act, record, repeat. Decide what you will do. Act before negotiation expands. Record the completion. Repeat long enough for the evidence to become identity. You will still have doubts. A strong identity does not mean you never feel lazy, afraid, or distracted. It means those feelings are no longer your definition. You can feel resistance and still be a disciplined person. You can miss a day and still be someone who returns. You can experience uncertainty and still take the next step. Be cautious with identity labels that become rigid. Saying, "I am a morning person" may be useful, but the deeper identity is more flexible. I am a person who begins deliberately. That identity can survive a new job, a newborn, a move, an injury, or a different schedule. It is based on principle rather than performance. As the identity strengthens, stop needing every morning to feel impressive. Quiet consistency is enough. Nobody may know that you woke and wrote. Nobody may see the walk, the prayer, the study, or the plan. The work may not receive immediate praise. Keep going. Private victories create public consequences. The skill improves, the body strengthens, the project grows, the conversation happens, the finances become clearer, the family experiences more presence. Other people may call the result talent, luck, confidence, or sudden success. You will know it began with repeated mornings when nothing dramatic seemed to happen. The promise was kept, and the person keeping it was changed. Chapter 10. The life you build before breakfast. One morning will not transform your life. It can transform your direction. That distinction matters. You do not need tomorrow to contain a complete reinvention. You need it to contain a clean beginning. Wake at a time that protects your health and gives you space. Stand before excuses, gather strength. Seek light. Drink water. Breathe, move the body, protect the mind from noise. Remember what matters. Advance one meaningful priority. Then do it again. Some mornings will feel powerful, others will feel ordinary, a few will feel terrible. Do not measure the system only by emotion. Measure what it is building. It is building attention that can resist distraction. It is building a body that is treated with respect. It is building work that no longer waits for leftover time. It is building a mind that knows how to return. It is building a relationship with yourself based on evidence rather than promises alone. Eventually, the morning begins reaching into every part of life. Because you plan earlier, you rush less. Because you move, you carry more energy. Because you create before consuming, your goals progress. Because you practice discomfort, difficult conversations become possible. Because you protect attention, you notice what deserves it. Because you keep one promise early, you are more likely to keep the next. The routine is not the destination. It is a training ground. The real goal is not to become someone with a beautiful morning schedule. The real goal is to become someone who can direct a life A directed life still contains uncertainty. Plans fail, people leave, opportunities change, health can shift. The future remains uncontrollable, but direction does not require control over everything. It requires control over the next honest action. That action is always available. When you wake tomorrow, the old life may still be present. The same room, the same work, the same worries, the same unfinished responsibilities. Do not wait for different circumstances before becoming different inside them. Begin where you are. Do not reach for the phone. Place your feet on the floor. Let the first breath be deliberate. Let the first movement be yours. Let the first promise be small enough to keep and important enough to matter. There is no audience required, no announcement, no dramatic countdown. The most important change may happen in a quiet room while the rest of the world remains asleep. You rise, you remember, you act, and with that act, you send a message into the rest of your life. The day will not be decided entirely by habit, pressure, fear, or chance. You are here now. You are awake. You are responsible for the next step. That responsibility is not a burden. It is your power. Use it to create a morning that strengthens you rather than scatters you. Use it to build work that matters. Use it to become more present with the people you love. Use it to prove, one dawn at a time, that your future is not only something that happens to you. Your future is something you practice. The alarm will ring. The room will be quiet. The decision will once again be yours. Own your morning. Then go and own your life.